What's going on, everyone? Will here from Mature Minded Gamers, and today I have Eric here with me.
Hey, everybody.
Today we're going to be taking a look at a very hot game on Kickstarter right now, Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape. It's right now at $1.7 million. That is insane.
Yeah, I've heard of Massive Darkness, never played it. Have you played the first one?
I backed it on, the first Kickstarter that was out, and, I played it, and it didn't really grab me, I guess. I never really felt like there was this story or this overarching. I felt like it was just like one shot and done. But man, the amount of content that it did have was actually really cool. One of the neat things about it was when you go to fight a monster, it would have a completely unique weapon, and what it did with that weapon kind of like changed up the variability for the monsters, which is pretty cool. And then when you defeated that monster, that group of monsters, then you would actually get that loot. So you would actually be able to level up like a specific to get a certain bow that a monster has that may be a higher level by killing that monster and picking up his weapon, which I thought was pretty neat.
That
And
sounds like a really neat way to run monsters. You don't normally see that
right,
necessarily as having a unique weapon. A lot of times they'll drop some loot that's unique to them, I guess. But
right. And cool mini or not, this one is obviously is going pretty hot right now. Cool mini or not games usually do, and the miniatures they release are just absolutely insane. So let's take a look at this one real fast, see what's going on with this game, and yeah, we'll talk about it. So right now we're looking at the box here, has the layout of the board. So you've got this like light areas and dark areas, and depending on where you're attacking from, you may be able to get like extra dice, whether you're attacking like somebody in the light or you're attacking from darkness. What do you think of the board? Do the tiles look intriguing to you, or does it just kind of look that black and white, kind of bland?
by the tiles, do you mean in the background? Um, they do look a little bland. I'm not gonna lie. I think it might be more the artwork though.
Yeah, this kind of looks like dark and light. It doesn't really nothing really like grabs me on that. Hmm. These player dashboards, I do like how cool when you're not. They've done it with like Zombicide on the other seasons, the additional seasons and stuff. And I do like how they've kind of like integrated that because the first Zombicide, you just had like your player mat. It was just a piece of paper, and you had to use these little sliding trackers on the card itself, which damaged them. And I really like what they've done with these dashboards. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I wonder if that image that we're seeing. So if you scroll down a long ways, they show you the 8 double-sided game tiles, and
Right?
to me they look a little bit more colorful. Maybe they just picked a bad picture on that first image.
Well, let's take a look at that. Let's keep scrolling down here. It says rewards dungeon. Looks like they are unlocking quite a bit of stuff. They're also doing daily unlocks, which is pretty neat. It kind of just gives you a way to stay engaged with checking the website and talking about it. I think getting more back into people's minds every single day to want to back more and more. Maybe increase your pledge or to tell other people about it. Oh, this just came out and you got to check this out, kind of thing. Do you think that's a good idea for Kickstarters to do as a daily unlock?
Man, I'm not really a good one to ask on this. Personally, I don't care about the daily unlocks. I'd rather see exactly what I'm going to get. At the same time, I guess I know the feeling. I don't have it for board games though, like I do video games. But that's one of the main things I miss about like Steam sales. Remember when they used to have daily deals?
Yeah. You
Man,
check it every day just to see what's
yeah,
next.
and I get that, and I can see people having that for board games. So you know what? I'm gonna say yes. It's just not my thing, personally.
Sure. We got some awesome looking things. This Scorpion King boss. See if we can get some better images of it down here. Oh, we got like a little prologue campaign. Okay, so it looks like they're making some strides here. All right, we got this wizard looking guy with a big old cow skull on his chest. Talking about the revamped rules after extinguishing the darkness that was taken over the world in the first installment. A brand new group of Lightbringers is ready to face the source of evil. Hellscape is more than a sequel to the story with new characters, components, system, and revamped rules. This 2.0 version will take the adventure even further. All right, so we got a Berserker class. Uses a special dashboard to convert damage tokens into rage to fuel their skills, increasing movement, offensive capabilities, and resistance. That's pretty cool. So this is gonna actually what I like about what I'm seeing here with like for the Berserker, for example, in the first edition, you just had like kind of like a class, if you will, and there weren't different mechanics for everybody. You know, when you think about like Dungeons and Dragons, for example, how you play a cleric versus how you play a fighter versus how you play a thief is completely different. You know, and everybody's mechanics are different and how their little combos work and stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's really cool that they're taking an idea like that where everybody is like their own little metagame, if you will, inside the character classes. That's pretty awesome. Get a ranger class, reveals cards to control the timing of attacks. Investing more time grants precision to hit bullseye, but taking too long may lead to missing the mark. Huh. Little press your luck element there. The rogue upgrade tokens and customizes her bag of thieving tools, then draws them out to boost their actions. Okay. Get the wizard. I'm not in love with that art on that wizard, but it is what it is. Etches spells into the air. Amulets that cast them spells have a cooldown, but can be recharged faster by spending additional mana. Like a little magic wheel there. That's pretty cool. Shaman channels the energy of nature, fire, wind, water, and earth to turn them into wondrous magic of different sorts. You look like you're going to be leveling up different parts, channeling that energy. That's pretty neat. And then Paladin grants auras to heroes, giving them additional combat bonuses and blesses skills to empower them temporarily. Interesting. Looks like you've got a Necromancer class, a Monk class. So you got some additional buys. It wouldn't be Cool Mini or not if they didn't have some optional buys there. The Gates of Hell, 4 Horsemen. Looks like the 4 Horsemen is going to be a Kickstarter exclusive pack. I don't necessarily like how with Cool Mini or not and what they do with if you miss this Kickstarter, I mean you can't get these Kickstarter exclusives except from the secondhand market. And I mean that's a gameplay element. Do you like that, or is that one of those things that's like, man, I hate not being able to buy it later if I want to without having to pay an outrageous cost?
I don't normally buy accessories and add-ons and stuff like that anyways. Usually I'll buy the base game, then very rarely do I end up loving a game enough where I want to seek out that content personally.
So
I know
let me ask you this. So you know, with me, I want everything, you know.
right.
But if a video game came out on Kickstarter, right, and they were launching it, it says you got this whole other expansion, but you only get it if you back that on Kickstarter. And it ended up being a really cool little side quest. It's like, man, I can't believe I missed that. And it's one of those things like if you don't get to play this, it's like, oh man, you're missing out on this really cool aspect of the story. Would that piss you off?
So that happens all the time in video games now, especially nowadays. You know, you'll get the expansion that comes out in 2 weeks after launch if you buy the deluxe edition. I used to always buy that. And then I quickly realized, especially if the content was far away, I would play when I wanted of the base game and never go back and play any of that other content. And so I've kind of carried that thoughts over on into the board game world too. And so no, I don't care about any of that stuff. Give me the base game. Let me see if I actually even like it, and then I'll worry about getting that extra content later.
But if that extra content was the same cost, if you backed it on Kickstarter, but if you missed it, would you be a little jaded that, hey, I paid full price and I didn't get it?
Would I be jaded? No. I mean, that's just me, not pulling the trigger on something early, but I wouldn't feel bad about it.
Okay. I just feel it's like one of those things that's like, and I get it. You know, you want people to back it, and you're trying to entice them to want to do it. But it's to me, it's like one of those things. It's like you're just enhancing the secondary market costs. And Cool Mini or Not is so notorious for this. Every single one of their Kickstarters, I mean, yeah, they do well. They have some beautiful miniatures, and it's just it just drives me insane that if you miss the Kickstarter, you're out. I mean, you can't get these exclusive things except for like on their like conventions, which obviously this year those were canceled. So Not like you're getting that crap this year. Unless you're going to be paying like exorbitant prices on eBay. But I
Yeah,
mean, that fuels the market, I guess.
but think about this. How many times do you actually go back and play that stuff, though, Will?
Dude, how many games do I still have in the cellophane that I gotten on Kickstarter?
Right. Like,
But it's that fear of missing out, man. I mean, what if I really absolutely just fall absolutely head over heels in love with a game and I missed it? I missed being able to get something that I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. Not everybody buys games like I do. And a lot of people will get these games like Massive Darkness at their friendly local game store and or get told about it later and miss out on these games and fall in love with it. And then they're like, okay, well, I would like to have that expansion. Oh, you can't because you didn't hear about it 2 years ago when the game was on a Kickstarter. Well, I didn't know about the game on Kickstarter. Well, that's not our fault. You're gonna have to pay. You're gonna spend $400 to be able to get this expansion you really like because you really love the game. Do you
yeah,
not feel like that's eight? Sorry, interrupted you.
I'm just gonna say I never do it anymore. Like I never there's one game that I can think of, board game wise, that I have purchased and then actually sought out the hard to find content. I found it at Gen Con, and that was Deception Murder in Hong Kong, the rare cards and stuff. And I bought the packs there, and I probably paid a little bit more than what you would have got if you would have kickstarted it or bought it earlier. I don't even know how they originally distributed it, but I mean, I didn't care. I love that game, so I don't mind paying a little extra than what I could have bought before.
Sure. These miniatures do look pretty good though, and I gotta hand it to Cool Mini or not. These infernal imp mobs look awesome. These fire mobs, satyr, gargoyles. Huh. Interesting fact. I was reading something online about. You remember the Gargoyles cartoon?
Oh yeah.
That almost every single member of the Next Generation Star Trek, the Next Generation cast did voice in that cartoon.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it makes me want to go back and try to find them. See if anybody has them on streaming because I want to see Disney Plus was actually getting them. But anyway, back to this undead mobs, skeleton mobs. What do you think of these models? I know you're not a big miniature guy. Do you think these look neat, or do you think they're just a waste?
They look cool. They look pretty neat. I'd say they're right up there with some of the other nice Kickstarters that have the really fancy models. If you scroll on down, it takes a while. You'll get to the ones where they have them. I don't think they're actually. I think they have been painted, but not like really painted, like with a computer. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about? The graphical image. Those
Yeah.
look really cool.
I'm almost there. I'm going through the components right now, looking at all the different boards.
Yeah, it's a ways down there because I was wondering because you get through a bunch of the miniatures, none of them are painted. I've never understood why companies don't professionally pay someone to paint them really nice because to me that's a huge selling point. And this is what your product can look like if you want to paint them. And I mean, sure, mine always turn out to not look like that, but I'm sure other people are very skilled at painting.
So one cool thing about this is they're going to introducing the campaign system. So I've seen that a lot more and more in board games that have been coming out. All this epic, grandiose campaign. You're going to get this board game, play the campaign. Do you think that too many games are introducing campaign modes? Do you like that or do you not like that?
I love campaign modes. I think it's a great. I like the whole legacy system and the campaign system where you have something that you're running. I know this isn't necessarily legacy where you're one and done, but this is something like Aeon's End, right? Where they introduced the. It's not called a campaign in their version. What's it called? Shoot. Anyways, you know what I mean. Their version of a campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
And man, I really enjoyed that and liked it a lot. And I also liked that depending on the character you played and the choices you made, it was going to be different every time you played.
Yeah, this game does look pretty awesome. I mean, I can see why it's doing well with all the miniatures. I have found myself, I mean, with all these different campaign games, like what I was asking with you was with the campaigns. I'm like, so I'll get a game, I'll get all excited to try it, and I'll play it the first couple times, and then I won't continue it. I'll go on to something different. And maybe that's just me because I have all these games to play, usually getting something new every other week or so, and it's just like if it doesn't grab me, it doesn't hold my attention, I'm not going to continue to play this grandiose campaign. And I'm worried, well, what about one shots? What about just sitting down, picking a certain scenario? Now, I know you played Gloomhaven. You played that pretty much straight through the 45 stories or missions or 90 missions, whatever it was. Do you feel like you could have just picked any of those missions, sat down, and just played a game?
Um, you mean any of those missions? You mean just like without knowing the story? Just like
Yeah, just plucking out one of the scenarios and just starting at level 1 and going to town. Do you think you could have beaten them?
um no, some because I mean it's scaled with your party level
Right.
and like where you were in the story. But I mean it wasn't too story centric. I mean it had a nice story, but you didn't have to know the story to be able to play. I mean you're just going into dungeons and killing the monsters or finding the treasure or whatever. So you wouldn't have to have known any of the story as long as you had the appropriately leveled character. You would have been fine.
So I wonder, I makes me think as far as like I think games should include, even though they have a campaign mode, ways to be able to play one shots and more of them.
I mean they definitely did have side quests that you could just go and run.
Right.
Um, and you could adjust the difficulty by the mobs and everything that's in there. Man, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, I am
There's a lot going
excited.
on.
I'm excited for that Gloomhaven multiplayer coming out soon. Not to get off topic, but
Right. So this game does have a Tabletopia version. You can actually go and play it right now. I believe you can play as the Paladin. You can play as the Rogue. And I didn't see the other two classes when I was scrolling through that on Tabletop Simulator, but definitely something to check out. Guess the daily unlocks listed, the Necromancer class components, the Necromancer model itself. Looks like you got two different models. It looks like a female and a male miniature. And a new roaming monster, monk, some new minions. And it lists all the stretch goals here. Man, you just get so much. It just seems like, man, there's all this plastic, and how many times you actually gonna play with these models. I feel like some of these games are just so bloated for their own good.
well, and I think you get a lot of that from the success of Gloomhaven. I mean, you hear stories over and over, people owning it, never being able to get to the table, and it's the classic case. But the people who do get to the table love it, and that's why it's so positively reviewed.
Right?
Because if you have the time and you have the proper situation, and I think that's what these games are going for, these grand epic pieces everywhere and millions of different things to do and campaigns to run, like that's what they're going for. But it's really hard to get to the table for most people. But I think everybody always has, and it's like video games too, everybody always has that expectation that, well, one of these days I'll get this, things will work and I'll get this to the table and I'll find the right group. And
Yeah, dude, I have so many games that are like that. It's like, oh, I want to run through a Gloomhaven campaign. I guess that's why I've been so like drawn to like Draws of the Lion, is the fact that I've got 12 scenarios and I could definitely play that solo. But playing like Gloomhaven all the way through by myself just seems so daunting because of how big the game is. But from a bloat standpoint, I mean, when I back these games, like when I got the first Massive Darkness on Kickstarter, I mean, there was like I had like 15 boxes. I'm probably not that many, but it was something like that where I had all these boxes and they were just full of miniatures and cards. And then after I get it, like I'll open it and look at it, and then I put it back in the box, and then all of a sudden I've got this pile of boxes that are just holding miniatures because they do pretty well at packaging their stuff and keeping them like protected and all that. But I'm like, well, what am I going to do with these boxes? So I've got like Nemesis. I have like one, two, three, four, five, six different boxes that the Nemesis components are from Awakened Realms. You know, and it's like, well, what am I going to do with all these boxes, all this content, and how many times am I going to bust out this specific content? It's just like, gosh, the game is so bloated with all this wasted plastic garbage that you're going to play with maybe once or twice in the entire campaign you're going to play it. Is that even worth wasting the money or the resources to buy it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. Like, uh,
But again, it's that fear of missing out. I want the model.
right, I get it, but I don't know. I mean, just like to touch back on it, you offered me a version of Jaws of the Lion, right?
Right?
And I said, I told you no. Like, if I play it, I'm gonna play it with you. Like, there's very little chance I'm gonna play with anybody else.
It's just so overwhelming to have you get all this stuff in for these games, and it's like, man, I just don't even know. So, but what do you guys think? Is that, I mean, obviously people are backing this game. Are you a backer of this one? Why did you choose to back it? You know, what I mean, we see this time and time again from Cool Mini or Not, all these fantastic looking models, but when you get these games in, what do you do with all the extra models that you just accumulate? You know, are you just a backer like, okay, I'm only backing Cool Mini or Not games, so I, throw everything in a bag? Or, I mean, what do you do with all the bloat? And it just boggles my mind. I would really like to know what you guys do with that. If you backed it, why did you back it? And we'd like to have a discussion with you. So please hit that like and subscribe button. Join us on our Discord. We have a board game group on there, as well as we have do video games. We talk about Star Trek. We talk about all thing geek. So I tell you what, everybody, until next time, everyone stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.